you might have seen her because I actually took her off the screen before I put her on the screen because I didn't even think about giving the intro. So, first and foremost, subscribe to the podcast. You've seen this, you've done it, you know it. It's been 6 years. If you subscribe, thank you for listening. If you listen, thank you for listening. If you're someone who is just new, thank you for showing up. Thank you for pulling up. Like, we have all kinds of great people, especially our Abode agents on here, talking all things from real estate, talking all things from community, and all the other things in between. So today we have a special guest. She is one of the top realtors in the Olympia DuPont area. I want to say DuPont. I'm going to let her correct me on that. She is a mill spouse. She is also an Abode, and she's, excuse me, many other things. And she also can balance cheese on her head and catch it on her head. Jana Ross, ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm doing all right. That probably wasn't like the most impressive intro I've ever done, but
I mean, I think that
it's
if
the
you
cheese on
had
the head.
the video of the cheese toss and catch with the face without hands, I think that would be a little more impressive if
Yeah,
the video went
it
on with
probably
it.
would
But
have.
yeah,
Yeah. That one just stuck with me. That's all. That one just stuck with me. Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about yourself for the people that are listening that do not know who you are. Are you leading agent DuPont? I haven't looked at the numbers recently, but I know
I
that
haven't
you're in the.
I
I
haven't looked at
know
the
that
numbers either.
I know you're
I'm yeah, top 5 or 10 or so.
top five and not four and not three and not two.
It's yeah,
Anyway,
varies month to month, but
nah, but no, you've been selling for how long? You been selling real estate for?
Coming up on 10 years, like 9.5 now.
Dang.
So
Okay, so
a
that's
little,
yeah,
a little bit of time.
yeah, and you're down in the DuPont area.
Mhm. Yeah.
And tell us the best thing you like about DuPont.
There are so many trails through and around the town. One that goes all the way down to the bay there, where we can see the islands and watch some of the sea life. And then we have some really great events in the park that's really close to my house. We have a pancake breakfast and Fourth of July parade every year. We have a
Dang.
barbecue cook-off that's where we get like the entire park is just filled with gut trucks with from all these different barbecue places from not only the Pacific Northwest, but we've got
Mm-hmm.
Kansas and some other places that roll into town, and you can just stuff
Okay, you
your
said
face for
Kansas.
2 days
I'm
straight.
in.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Okay, yeah, that sounds. It sounds like smaller community, like a really tight knit community. It seems like,
Yeah,
and just really, yeah, really cool and really open and chill and yeah, it sounds. I don't know. I love it down there. It's great.
yeah, same.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk about don't say thank you for your service. And I know that this is a talk that you've given to other people. And I'm actually just interested to hear because I haven't heard it yet. So I know and I hear everyone talking about it, but we're going to talk a little bit about what you mean by that and then how people can support as well and whatever else you have in this talk because I haven't heard it yet. So, what do you mean by don't thank you for your service first and foremost?
Well, it's funny because it sounds pretty controversial just off the cuff like that. But a little backstory helps with this, I think. The phrase "Thank you for your service" really kind of came into use and became really popular that first year after the Iraq War, so or
Mm-hmm.
after 9/11.
Yeah.
And it was a time when the Iraq War was brand new. Media coverage was really constant on not just the war, but military service and families and everything that was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people wanted a way to kind of show their support, and this phrase caught on, and it really took off. And we're now 23 years later,
Mm-hmm.
and it feels like it's the only thing we say sometimes.
Mm.
You hop on any social media on Veterans Day or even Memorial Day, and it's just a whole a whole row of thank you for your service, thank you for your service,
Yep.
thank you for your service.
Yep.
Um, and there's just it's like they became this easy, fast thing to do, and
Mm-hmm.
it stopped going any further than that or any deeper than that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think a lot of that it seems very benign and supportive, and it's easy, obviously. But there's a couple issues with it. It can be a little problematic. Um,
Mm-hmm.
one it's just rote. Like I said, 23 years later,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. For
that's just
real.
all we're
You
hearing and
probably.
all we're
It's
saying.
almost feels like it's almost like gaslighting almost at this point. Is that kind of
It,
like? Is
it
that what
comes
you?
off. I mean, it at best it comes off as superficial and
Yeah.
insincere. And at worst it can really um, yeah, I lost the word. Patronizing. It can feel kind of patronizing.
Yeah. That's probably a better word. Yeah.
It's it also kind of it almost prescribes like positive feelings about service, and the reality is a lot of people have conflicting emotions about their time in service and
Mm.
everything that they have accomplished or gone through or whatnot. And they probably don't want a random stranger surfacing those
Mm.
feelings out in public, because it's not just a social media thing. People say it in public to strangers, and um, it's also a dead end statement. There's really nowhere to go from that. Your options for answers are thank you or you're welcome, and um, if somebody is made uncomfortable by it, they're not going to want to escalate that to an actual confrontation to say like, hey,
Yeah.
that's kind of old, or I don't really appreciate that. Yeah. And so
Hmm.
it's kind of backs people into a corner a little bit.
I can see that for sure.
And yeah, and it at times it just kind of turns the veteran into a prop for the speaker. The
Mm.
speaker gets the opportunity to display their patriotism without taking into account the veteran really at all. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
that's something I've heard from 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 friends and family is like, man, it's not even about me; it's about the person that's saying it. And
Interesting.
so
Yeah.
it's there's so much more that could be said or done. It's less about, oh, don't show your appreciation. It's more about don't say the same thing that everybody has said for 23 years and leave
Mm-hmm.
it at that, because it really comes across as well, I did my thing, I did my duty for the day, and I'm done.
It's yeah. It's checking the box.
Yeah,
If anyone gets it, it's me. I totally understand where you're coming from because it obviously for other reasons and other like Martin Luther King Day or whatever, it's the same kind of concept where it's just like, all right, man, like how many times am I gonna see that quote or
yeah,
hate you can't drive hate out with hate. You got like only light brings the whatever that saying is. You know what I mean? Like we've all seen it a million
yeah.
times, and it's just like, all right, so I've seen that
You
for
know,
10 years
quote.
now.
Yeah.
Like so now it's like, all right, is there another quote or is there something? So I get it, like 100%. And actually, this one is probably worse because it's like the same one that everyone uses. So it's probably even more patronizing in a lot of ways, I would guess.
Yeah, it's the same, yeah, same line. And I think probably kind of along those the same lines is when you get that kind of canned response. Uh, um, I think the first thought initially is, well, what do you even know about it? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you're thanking me for my service. You're giving me the response that that everyone does now. That is the societal thing. Um, but what do you actually know about military service? About what we've gone through? About what I've done? About legislation that's been put into place? About
Mm.
benefits that have decreased? So there's just so much more that could be done, could be said. So many different ways to interact with our military community and to offer support and help. Just that's not the same thing.
Right. So tell it. So put us on game. Like what is like So if there's someone that's saying this, so someone might be listening, and be like, "Well, then what am I supposed to say, or what are we pointing to? What are you talking about?" So is there any like misconceptions that you think people might have about military families when they say thank you for their service? They think that, they might think one thing, but is there anything that you can unearth that's, that military about, because you are a mil spouse, like you're a military spouse, like what can you tell someone about that, like uncovering a little bit more
Yeah.
based on what you were just saying?
Yeah. So I think the first thing that everyone should understand is there's no requirement to say anything. There's and think of it this way: we don't necessarily say make a comment about everybody's source of employment or what they do for work. When we meet somebody, typically we start a dialogue and we ask questions and we talk. So there's no need. I think people feel a pressure to say something, and thank you for your
Yeah.
service is the easy fallback, but there's no need to say anything. And I think they also think that it's expected, like people want to hear it, and that's also not the case. Um, when you're in a situation and you meet somebody and you find out they're in the military or they're a military family member or something,
Hmm.
um, treat them like people. I mean, they're at the end of the day, we're all human, regardless of what we do for work or what our affiliations are with different groups or communities. And what do you do when you meet somebody and you find out
Hmm.
what they do for work? Oh, cool. How long have you done that? Hey, what else what do you like to do in life? If
Yeah.
you're talking from a professional standing, um, all right, well, that's cool. How long are you planning on being in this area? How if we're shopping for a house, how long do you think you own the house? Do you want to keep it after you
Hmm.
move? What is it? How does your military service affect your home buying process? Or there's just so
Hmm.
many ways to go with just a dialogue and a communication, a conversation with the person as a person versus giving them a statement about their job
Hmm.
that doesn't really forward the conversation at all.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great insight and great input. Just asking a question. I think that's fair and reasonable, and that's what we should do anyway. Be curious.
Yeah,
Um,
converse with the
how
person.
does Yeah, like how do you see your role as a real estate agent, like intersecting with your experience as a military spouse? Like, are there ways? Do you approach real estate differently because of your mil spouse background?
I do. With being a middle spouse and being in the community for so long, I've I've moved a lot.
Mm.
I've had to relocate every 2 or 3 years on average, except for when came to Washington and we stayed for a really long time. But and so I have a lot of experience with that, and I have a lot of empathy for the whole process of
Mm-hmm.
not just buying and selling, but moving in general and all
Right.
of the things that you have to do and plan. And um, so that's something that I always keep in mind and try to make every step that I can as easy as possible and with as little stress and with as much information looking ahead. So there's fewer questions because there's already so much to do and so much to think about. Um, I want to make it as uncomplicated as possible.
Yeah, for real. And I think as we start talking about some of these things, like I hope the hope is for me at least is like that people can see the reasoning behind your sentiment. Like there's so much more involved in being in the military versus just service, quote unquote. There's actual life, there's actual a position that you hold,
Mhm.
and there's dynamics in the job just like any other job. Like I don't know. So I feel like that, at least for me, what I take out of this is that just humanizing
Yep.
military families, humanizing, especially spouses of military members who may have to be deployed, and things of that nature. So, what what have you seen in your in your role has been the biggest challenge? What's been the biggest challenge of being a military spouse for you?
Oh,
I mean, not the biggest, but just name one, because I know there's multiple.
there's a couple. I think one that probably doesn't get considered or talked about as much would be the uncertainty of having your spouse, having your person um, be somewhere else
Hmm.
and be in harm's way
Hmm.
and have no control over that,
Yeah.
and having to sit and wait for information.
Mm.
Um, I remember when he went to Iraq way back in the day.
Hmm.
There wasn't infrastructure in place, so we didn't talk that often.
Oh
Um,
man.
maybe once a month, and we communicated totally through letters. Oh, that was easier than Afghanistan, actually, because in Afghanistan the infrastructure was all put in place. The time difference it was 11 and a half hours, so we had a
Wow.
lot of time to talk and communicate, and we could message and text, and that was really great for staying in touch. But that also meant that if there was a communication blackout, I
Mm.
knew probably within the hour.
Dang.
And
That's.
when
I couldn't
there's yeah,
imagine.
when there is a serious injury, when there's a death, all comms go down, um, and there should be a notification within 4 hours.
Yeah, and so then you have to wait because you don't know
Yeah,
who are they talking
sitting
about? What's happening? Like, gosh, yeah, that's
sitting and
crazy.
waiting, and yeah, worrying about your spouse, but also worrying about everyone else.
Yeah,
Because
for real. Yeah.
if your spouse is safe, somebody else isn't. So I think when it comes to, I mean, there's all the missed everything, missed doctor's appointments,
Hmm.
going to the hospital and sitting inpatient with your child and your spouse is somewhere else and doesn't even know
Yeah.
yet, and um, birthdays and anniversaries and holidays, and there's all the little daily stuff and little stress. But there's a lot of really intense worry and fear
Hmm.
and stress, and there's very little control over it.
Yeah.
And so I think that would be the hardest thing, or what I considered the hardest. And in fact, for a while, Eric and I had talked about when after the kids, we'd had both the kids, and they were not quite in school yet, but they were old enough that they could do preschool or whatnot. We had talked about maybe going dual military. Maybe
Mm.
I would join up and take advantage of some of the education benefits
Yeah.
and all of that. And we talked about that for I think a month or so. And Eric was finally the one that said, I don't want to do this. Um,
Yeah.
and his reasoning was, I don't think I can do the other side. I don't think I I don't think I could sit and wait and know that
Yeah.
you're in one
That's
place.
facts. He's
So
very he's correct. I probably couldn't do it either. Like I don't know how you did that. So when someone hears this, because it's like that's the human side of it, and it's just like, yeah, but when I say thank you for your service, I'm saying like thank you for all. Are you telling them like, well, then say that then, not thank you for your service, but be more, uh, you know, yeah, okay.
I think
I think I'm following now. I think I'm following.
yeah, and I think it's just it's a lot to say to a person to their face. I mean, even just thank you for your service, because there's a lot that's surfaced with that. Like the service
Right.
is a lot. It's not just, we're not these men and women aren't action heroes. They're not stories or characters from a book.
That's
Their service comes with a lot more than just a hooah, yeah, I did that. That's great.
mm-hmm.
I think that if people want to express any kind of appreciation or gratitude, that's great. But take a minute, if you're gonna post something or write something, or send somebody a card, or take a minute and just put it in your own words. say
Yeah.
something. Let people know that you thought about it. You didn't just use a canned response.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had, in fact, the part of what brought this all up and made me want to start talking about it is last year around Veterans Day, a friend of mine in the industry wrote a post. We did actually
Mm-hmm.
a couple of posts around Veterans Day, and one of them was on Veterans Day, and it was a gratitude type post. But he just wrote a very well thought out couple of sentences
Mm-hmm.
about expressing gratitude for people that serve in the military, and it was so refreshing to see some thought and something different. And
Yeah.
then he followed up the next day by saying, "Hey, we're on Veterans Day, so let's talk about the VA loan." And he did a
Mm-hmm.
couple of educational posts about the VA loan after that, and it really was just remarkable and so meaningful to have anything else and have somebody put some thought into it.
Yeah, I like that idea. I mean, and we're guilty, guilty as charged. Like we've done that post. I've done that. Oh, actually, my post looks more like my personal one is more like military members. Like there's a blank check basically. It's kind of like they're handing their whole life over, like for your enjoyment, for your freedom, for your this and that. It's more of like it's less of a thank you for your service and more like, yo, like this is not just that's the gist of it. Like
Yeah.
they're handing over their whole life for this. And how much would that cost to you? You know what I'm saying? Like how much does that cost to you? Because it's a blank check basically. Like there's really no cost to that. There's no price to that. There's no amount that can, there's really not enough thanks that you can give for people to sacrifice their life. You know what I mean? It's kind of in that realm. But in terms of like from a company perspective, I think that that's something that we can work on too, for all brokerages and all people and all companies and all everything, and so that's why I like this conversation, because I'm like, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
always down to dig deeper and like let's talk about the integral parts of this and why and the nuances of it and why it's important. Why do we even have this day? Like let's educate. And so
Yeah.
I'm all for that. So I love it. I think it's great. Um,
Yep.
what else do you have? Like, are there any last ending thoughts on this as we start to wrap up? Because I mean, I think we don't have to belabor the point, but I want to make sure that we get everything like out that you have to say on this topic.
Well, I think that it's important for people to realize that there are things that are more important than even expressing gratitude. There
Mm-hmm.
are a lot of things that affect the daily life of the military community, and putting some thought into that and just advocating for them, learning about the legislation that is affecting them,
Mm-hmm.
learning how the representatives that we all vote for
Mm-hmm.
vote on those
Mm-hmm.
matters,
Mm-hmm.
um, speaking out for the strength of the Veterans Administration, sharing resources with your platform, with your community. When we're talking about real estate in specific, educating people on the benefits of the VA loan, and
Man.
speaking with industry peers about the benefits, and
Mm-hmm.
trying to tap down some of the misconceptions that are out there with it. Um, and then I think the overreaching. I mean, if I had to draw a line, and this is the one thing that I really wish I want people to grab hold of and just really think about,
Mm-hmm.
um, is that more than anything, the veteran community, the military community, are human with a lot of life going on outside of what they do for a living. Like you said, yes, they're putting their life on the line, but even those that are, you know, that are not killed, that survive, usually deal with a lot of lifelong illnesses,
Mm-hmm.
injuries, problems. So a scripted phrase that's been in the works for decades or been used for decades is really like the least you can do, but not in a good way. So it's just time to retire that and look at the humanity of the whole community and look at what's affecting them and put some thought into connecting with them as humans and into advocating for things that could improve their life.
Yeah, I think I like that. I think just being curious too. Like I'm curious, you know what I mean? And so every time it comes up, I'm gonna, with Memorial Day coming up, and I visit my people, and I just that's big for me because my grandfather's in the Korean War, and I have a military family on my grandma's side. My grandmama and my granddad were in military, and so I grew up going on base and getting my school clothes and doing all that. Like man, I saw my first pair of Jordans on base, and she was like, I said I want those, and she looked at me like, that's how much your whole school clothes are gonna cost. And she looked at me like she wanted to slap me. I remember we were on base, and I was like, yeah, all right, man. So on base, by that, for people that aren't from here, McCord Air Force Base. That's where I grew up. I spent a lot of time on base down there. So anyway, I have some exposure in different ways. My other grandpa was a cook in the military as well, so made great food for us all. So and then obviously my father-in-law. So I think we're all impacted by this conversation. I think we all have people or hopefully, I think that we all have people in our lives that or have experiences where this applies. And yeah, I'm glad you're doing it. Like shit. We might as well let's go ahead and try to like get it out the paint. Like let's maybe see what we can do. It's a national movement now. Don't say thank you for your service. Like let's change the quotes. Let's make it a question or do something. I don't know, something. So yeah, well thank you for coming on for this. And I have one more segment though. Are you ready for the last
Okay.
segment?
Okay.
Okay, it's a new
Maybe.
segment. It's not hot take. So
Okay.
no, it's called fill in the blank. Um, and so we're gonna get out of here on fill in the blank. So here's the first one. The first thing I do when I wake up is
Get some coffee.
okay. If I could teleport anywhere for dinner tonight, I'd go to blank and order blank.
Ooh, teleport anywhere for dinner.
Anywhere in the world.
I would go to, oh, I can't remember the name of it. It's this tiny town in Spain, right on the coast. And I would get some paella.
Okay. Damn, that's detailed. That's a one thing I always pack first when moving is
My mom's China.
okay. A song that always puts me in a good mood is
Who Run the World? Why it's my ringtone.
okay. Last one. People would be surprised to know that I blank.
Milked the venom from a rattlesnake at the Rattlesnake Roundup in Sweetwater, Texas in 1996.
Wow. That might be. I don't know if I'm ever going to see anybody answer anything like that again. That was impressive. That was impressive. Good job. Good job. You passed fill in the blank with flying colors. So,
Good.
with that, how can people find more out about you? I think you're probably, hopefully, going to be speaking on this in other spaces and places, is my hope. But also, how can people get in touch with you? All things Jana. Like, go.
Yeah, yeah. So on Instagram and Facebook, I'm at Jana Ross Realtor. JanaRossRealestate.com is my website. And I will actually be doing a lot more talking about this. I'm putting together a class as well that will actually give people kind of positive steps forward on
Yeah,
not just posting on social media, but also getting involved with the community in
I love
person,
that.
ways that they can where they can support, interact, and help. the military community build a wider community and outside of just the military.
Yeah, I love that. And if you haven't listened to the Wear Blue to Remember, I always screw up the name. You say it.
Wear blue, run to remember.
Rare Blue, Run to Remember. I would say Wear Blue to Remember. I always take out the run. Wear Blue, Run to Remember. Um, that was a great podcast too. So go back and listen to that. And yeah, I'm overdue. I haven't been in a while, so I probably should tap in.
We've got our big Memorial Day event coming up on Memorial Day.
I know,
So
I know that's coming up really quick. So
it is.
anyway,
Yes.
no, thank you. And for those of you celebrating Memorial Day, hopefully maybe you're listening to this on Memorial Day, or if you're listening before Memorial Day, or even after Memorial Day, hopefully this gives you some insight to, do a little bit more and be a little bit more thoughtful in your curiosity around thank you for your service, or Memorial Day, or Veterans Day, or all of the days. So
Yep.
with that, thanks for joining, and thanks for listening, and subscribe and listen to all the rest. And windermereabode.com. Go there, go to Jana's site, go to @Jana Ross Realtor on Instagram, and DM her and all the things, and ask more questions. So, and if you also need to buy a house, you can do that too. So
Yeah.
that's
Or
also a
sell
good thing.
it.
Yeah, she can buy or sell a house too. Yeah. All right. Well, thank y'all for joining. We'll see y'all.